Emotion-driven decisions prioritize comfort. Logic-driven decisions prioritize outcomes. Comfort is immediate and visible. Outcomes are delayed and often invisible at first. This delay is why discipline feels difficult for many people. They overvalue what they can feel now and undervalue what they will experience later. Discipline corrects this mental error. It trains you to think in longer time frames, where short-term discomfort is seen as a small price for long-term advantage. Another powerful aspect of discipline is how it reduces mental friction. When decisions are emotional, the mind is constantly debating, justifying, and rationalizing. This drains energy and creates inconsistency. Logic-based discipline removes that internal noise. You don't ask yourself whether you should do the work, you already know the answer. The question is no longer how do I feel, but what is the correct action? This clarity saves time, focus, and mental strength. Discipline also aligns behavior with reality. Instead of wishful thinking, reality doesn't care about intentions, excuses, or feelings. It responds only to actions taken consistently over time. Logical discipline respects this truth. It accepts that effort must come before results, that mastery requires repetition, and that progress is often boring. By acting in accordance with reality rather than emotion, discipline produces dependable outcomes. Over time, rational discipline reshapes identity. When you repeatedly act on logic, you begin to see yourself as someone who does what makes sense, not what is easy. This self-image reinforces disciplined behavior without force. What once required effort becomes automatic. Discipline stops being a struggle and becomes a standard way of operating, built on clear thinking rather than emotional impulse. Most personal failure does not come from a single, catastrophic decision, but from small, repeated mistakes that feel harmless in the moment. These mistakes are rarely caused by lack of intelligence or opportunity. They are caused by human nature, impulsiveness, laziness, overconfidence, and the tendency to avoid discomfort. Discipline exists to counter these traits. It acts as a protective system that limits damage before it compounds into something irreversible. Human beings are not naturally rational. We are biased toward convenience, short-term pleasure, and familiar routines, even when those routines quietly undermine our goals. Left unchecked, this tendency leads to self-sabotage. People know what they should do, but they consistently do the opposite. Discipline intervenes at this exact point. It creates rules that operate even when judgment is clouded, energy is low, or temptation is high. Self-sabotage often disguises itself as harmless behavior. Skipping one workout, delaying one important task, making one excuse. None of these actions seem destructive alone, but discipline understands patterns. It recognizes that repetition, not intensity, determines outcomes. By enforcing consistent standards, discipline breaks destructive patterns early, before they gain momentum. It prevents the accumulation of small errors that eventually produce large failures. Another way discipline prevents self-sabotage is by reducing exposure to temptation. Instead of relying on willpower in the moment, disciplined individuals design their environment to support correct behavior. They remove distractions, set routines, and create boundaries. This is not about strength. It is about strategy. If a bad choice is harder to make and a good choice is easier, the probability of success increases dramatically. Discipline also limits emotional decisions. Many self-destructive actions are emotional reactions, stress spending, quitting under pressure, procrastinating to escape discomfort. Discipline creates distance between emotion and action. It slows the response and inserts a rule. Act according to principle, not impulse. This pause alone prevents countless mistakes that would otherwise feel justified in the moment. Another overlooked form of self-sabotage is inconsistency. People work hard in bursts and then disappear for long periods. They rely on intensity instead of reliability. Discipline corrects this by enforcing steady effort. It prevents burnout caused by extremes and failure caused by neglect. By maintaining moderate, consistent action, discipline keeps progress alive even during difficult periods. Most people think discipline is about forcing yourself to suffer. They're wrong. Discipline is simply choosing long-term advantage over short-term comfort and doing it again tomorrow. That single habit quietly separates the people who build real results from those who stay busy, but stuck. Discipline is not dramatic. It doesn't rely on hype, loud confidence, or emotional speeches. In fact, discipline works best when no one is watching. It is a system of rational behavior repeated over time. If you understand incentives, consequences, and compounding, discipline becomes obvious, not heroic. Most people fail not because life is unfair, but because they make the same small mistakes every day and never correct them. They chase pleasure, avoid discomfort, and repeat behaviors that feel good now, but cost them later. Discipline is the mental habit of reversing that pattern. You willingly accept a little discomfort today to avoid massive regret tomorrow. Think about it logically. Every action has a cost and a payoff. Undisciplined people choose immediate payoffs with hidden long-term costs. Disciplined people accept small, immediate costs for long-term gains. That's not willpower, that's basic arithmetic. Applied to life, discipline also removes the need for constant decision. When you decide in advance how you will act, you eliminate emotional interference. You don't debate whether to work, train, study, or improve. You've already decided. This creates clarity, efficiency, and consistency. Over time, consistency beats intensity every single time. Another overlooked truth. Discipline protects you from yourself. Human beings are wired to be lazy, biased, and easily distracted. Discipline is a personal safeguard, a set of rules that prevents self-sabotage. It reduces errors, limits foolish behavior, and increases the odds of favorable outcomes. The most powerful effect of discipline is compounding. Small, disciplined actions, repeated daily, produce results that look unreasonable to undisciplined observers. They call it luck. It's the predictable outcome of rational behavior maintained over time. Discipline doesn't guarantee success, but lack of discipline guarantees failure. If you want reliability and results, you need reliability and behavior. Discipline is how you get there. Quietly, steadily, and without excuses. Discipline is often misunderstood as an emotional battle, a constant struggle between desire and resistance. In reality, discipline is a thinking process, not a feeling. When decisions are made logically instead of emotionally, discipline becomes easier and far more reliable. Emotions are unstable by nature. They change with mood, energy, environment, and external pressure. Logic, on the other hand, remains consistent. A disciplined life is simply the result of consistently choosing what makes sense over what feels good in the moment. Most people allow emotions to vote on decisions that should already be settled. When you feel motivated, you work. When you feel tired, you stop. When something feels difficult, you avoid it. This is not a lack of ability, it is a lack of rational structure. Discipline removes negotiation from daily behavior. You decide once, based on logic, and then follow through regardless of how you feel. When behavior is pre-decided, emotions lose their power to interfere. Every action has predictable consequences. Skipping work today may feel harmless, but repeated often enough, it leads to lost skill, missed opportunity, and diminished self-respect. Working consistently may feel uncomfortable now, but over time it builds competence, and leverage. Discipline is simply the habit of recognizing these cause and effect relationships and acting accordingly. It is not about punishment or control, but about choosing the most intelligent option available. Discipline also protects self. Every time you break a promise to yourself, you weaken confidence. Over time, this creates hesitation, doubt, and avoidance. Discipline restores trust by aligning words with actions. When you do what you said you would do, repeatedly, you rebuild internal credibility. This credibility becomes a stabilizing force that reduces reckless behavior and reinforces responsible choices. Without discipline, people often repeat mistakes because they fail to examine them. Discipline encourages reflection and correction. It turns errors into feedback instead of excuses. By learning from small failures instead of ignoring them, disciplined individuals avoid repeating the same patterns that trap others for years. Ultimately, discipline does not restrict freedom, it preserves it. By preventing impulsive decisions, wasted time, and destructive habits, discipline keeps options open. It acts as a personal insurance policy against predictable human errors. quietly protecting progress long before danger becomes visible. Most people underestimate how powerful small actions can become when they are repeated consistently over time. They look for dramatic changes, massive efforts, or overnight success, while ignoring the quiet force that actually drives long-term results. Discipline is the mechanism that allows progress to compound. It ensures that small, sensible actions are performed regularly, allowing time to multiply their impact in ways that appear extraordinary to those who lack consistency. Compounding works because progress builds on itself. Skills improve gradually, strength increases incrementally, and knowledge deepens layer by layer. Each disciplined action slightly raises your baseline, making the next effort more effective than the last. Missed days and inconsistent behavior interrupt this process, resetting progress and slowing momentum. Discipline protects momentum by keeping actions uninterrupted, even when progress feels invisible. The early stages of compounding are deceptive. Results appear slow, insignificant, and sometimes discouraging. This is where most people quit. They fail to recognize that early effort is laying the foundation for exponential growth later. Discipline keeps you moving during this phase, not because you see results, but because you understand the math. You trust the process even when the outcome hasn't revealed itself yet. Time is neutral. It can work for you or against you. Undisciplined behavior allows time to magnify mistakes, bad habits, and missed opportunities. Disciplined behavior allows time to magnify effort, learning, and improvement. The difference between the two is not talent or luck, but daily behavior. Discipline determines whether time becomes an enemy or an ally. Consistency also creates reliability. When actions are disciplined, outcomes become predictable. Predictability allows planning, confidence, and scaling. This is why disciplined people appear calm under pressure. They are not guessing. They are following a system that has already proven itself through repetition. This reliability compounds into reputation, trust, and long-term advantage. Another effect of compounding discipline is reduced effort over time. What once required struggle becomes automatic. Habits formed through discipline reduce friction, conserve energy, and increase efficiency. As behavior becomes routine, mental resistance decreases. This allows progress to accelerate without a proportional increase in effort, creating a gap between disciplined individuals and those who rely on motivation. Compounding also works internally. Each act of discipline strengthens identity. You begin to see yourself as someone who follows through, who stays consistent, who doesn't quit when progress is slow. This identity reinforces future discipline, creating a feedback loop that grows stronger with time. The longer discipline is maintained, the harder it becomes to break. The most misunderstood aspect of compounding is that it rewards patience more than intensity. 1 disciplined hour every day will outperform 10 uncontrolled hours once a week. Discipline aligns effort with time, allowing results to grow naturally. What seems ordinary in the present becomes remarkable in hindsight, all because discipline allowed small advantages to accumulate without interruption. Thanks for watching.